Oba Femi and Iyo Sky advance in the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring tournaments as they will go on to Riyadh and find out who their challengers are come this Friday. As, again, Oba Femi defeats Dominic Mysterio. There was no Brock Lesnar, as many suspected, but he still has opportunities as they will go for a third match as early as SummerSlam, or I'm sorry, as late as SummerSlam, but could be Saturday night's main event. Even after the Riyadh Night of Champions event, there is a in-between event that they could definitely highlight and headline with Oba Femi Brock Lesnar 3. That will most certainly end with Oba Femi being victorious, and everybody who is concerned about Oba Femi's career and that his WrestleMania win meant nothing can be put to rest. So, just wanted to mention, if you are interested in becoming the NXT host and reviewing NXT every week, send me an email, mailbag@wwepodcast.com. Send me a short 5-minute clip talking about wrestling. Have a quality microphone, not one of those built-in things into your laptop. It's got to be somewhat quality, and I would hope that you've been a fan for a while. I'm just, it's a pretty standard expectation for those who are hosting on the show, and send that over and we can talk more about the position. It's mailbag@wwepodcast.com, and you would be doing the NXT review every single week if you're interested, of course. Now, let's dive into Monday Night Raw. And better crowd here as it came to us from Baltimore, Maryland at the CFG Bank Arena. Roman Reigns makes his return. The Usos, Jacob Fatu, and just Joe Tessitore mentioned it was a sellout crowd. I'm not sure if it was actually a sellout, but the arena looked pretty full to me, just by the eyeball test. And Reigns told the fans to acknowledge him, and he had the crowd acknowledge Jay for advancing in the King of the Ring tournament. And Reigns said people accuse him of playing favorites with Jay. Reigns said if it wasn't for Big Jim, there would be no Tribal Chief and no Bloodline. Reigns had the crowd acknowledge Jimmy, and then Fatu chants broke out. Fatu ripped the microphone out of Roman's hand, and Jay got upset, but Reigns held him back. And he said, when it comes to Jay and Jimmy, do I listen to them? And he said, hell no. The only person that I acknowledge is my OTC. And Reigns said, good. We don't need yes men around here. And I like that for Fatu, because in the pecking order of this 19th iteration of the Bloodline, we know who is who here. It's not Fatu answering to Jimmy and Jay. It's Fatu simply answering to Roman Reigns, and that is it. So there's a lot of talk, too, about the, again, resurrection of the Bloodline, and we're going on 6 years now, nearly 6 years since the Bloodline has officially been a faction in WWE. And believe it or not, there was actually a mention of the Bloodline in story back in 2017. Now, it wasn't a faction until 2020, but I remember it being mentioned. It might have been on a SmackDown Raw, I don't know. And I remember saying at the time, that's a really good name for a faction. Lo and behold, here we are, but I'm not saying that I had anything to do with it. I just do remember back before the faction of the Bloodline actually was a thing that they mentioned the phrase the Bloodline on television back in May of 2017. So just a quick kind of factoid. All right. So then we have Reigns say he's heard Fatu say he's always been an outsider, and he says that's no more. He said, you're on the inside now. He says, welcome to the family business. Welcome to the Bloodline. And he gives the Ulafala on Fatu, or puts it on him, and Jay wasn't happy, and everybody was just acknowledging, putting up the fingers, and that's fine. So we then had the actor and comedian, Eric Andre. He was in the crowd, and Reigns and Jimmy shook hands with him. Jay blew him off, and then Andre reached out and patted Fatu in the back, but then ended up touching his Ulafala. That sounds dirty, but it's not. And Fatu then immediately pulls Andre over the barricade and starts pounding on him in the ring. And Reigns gave him the go-ahead to do a top rope splash and then gave him another. Crowd liked it. as the crowd they were chanting one more time, and that was it. There was nothing more than this here other than celebrity involvement. And I say nothing more, but if you're into this bloodline thing and you're into Jacob Fatu, you had to like this because this put the focus on Jacob Fatu. He has the Ulafala. They're telling you that he's only answering to Roman Reigns. He's not the lapdog for everybody. And he kind of still makes his own decisions to a point. But the only grief I have with this is that it's another celebrity story. Can we end the celebrity bullshit? I don't need Jelly Roll. I don't need Pat McAfee. I don't need, who's this guy? I really have no idea who he is. Eric Andre. Who is this guy? I've never heard of him in my life. Is he a YouTuber or something? They said he's an actor and comedian. Who the hell is Eric Andre? If you put him in a lineup with 5 other guys that are totally random off the street, and they said, identify Eric Andre, I'd be a dead man. I have no clue. Does anybody else recognize him? Maybe it's because I'm a millennial. I don't pay attention and keep up with the latest trends of comedians and actors. Is it the Gen Zers that pay attention to this, or the Gen after that? We're actually in Gen Alpha, I believe. Generation Alpha. I'm not sure, but this does nothing for me, but it does continue to propagate TKO's strategy of bringing in celebrities to push forward stories. They continue to believe that somehow celebrities are the answer. That tells you they have no faith in their existing talent to draw ratings. But have celebrities even proven to be a great strategy? Did you not see what happened when they brought Pat McAfee in? Did they forget about that? Did they forget the fact that there was so much backlash they had to pull Jelly Roll out of the event for Backlash that was supposed to be a tag team match? They seemingly have a very short memory, or are just hell-bent on their strategy of trying to be cool and bringing in celebrities. I don't like this strategy at all. I know it's pretty common around WrestleMania. This ain't WrestleMania time. But you take him out of it, this is decent for Jacob Fatu. I think this is a much better role for him. I'm not saying he needs to be the bitch for Roman Reigns forever, but it's a nice place to establish him there so that when he finally does break out, it's for real this time. Because that first run, too green, not enough of a rapport with fans. He still needed improvement in the ring. It didn't feel right. The crowd wasn't totally behind him. And that's not 100% his fault. But I think he needs some seasoning, and this is a perfect place to learn. Okay. And let's see here. We got the first match, which was Iyo Sky and Raquel Rodriguez in a Queen of the Ring semifinal match. By the way, an ad did air for SummerSlam, August 1st and 2nd in Minneapolis. So don't forget about that. That comes to us very early this year. SummerSlam, I think, has been bumped up in the last year or two. Instead of it being mid-August till almost late August, it's the first couple days seemingly of August or the last couple of years anyway. So mark that on your calendars. August 1st and 2nd, a 2-night event that'll be here before you know it. About a month and a half. So this Queen of the Ring match between Iyo and Raquel. The match went 10 minutes with Iyo beating Raquel after hitting her over the moonsault, and Sky's going to now face the winner of Liv Morgan and Charlotte Flair, which will take place this Friday on SmackDown. So there were people who thought this would be a Judgment Day final with Raquel and Liv, which wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. I don't think people were really going to lose their minds if Iyo lost this. Raquel has made a lot of progress over the last 6 to 12 months. She's broken out. She feels more like a solid single star that brings and elevates the Judgment Day to the next level. I don't think she's at the level where she's going to be yet in terms of her peak, but she has made a mile leap from where she was. So that said, Sky wins. She's a bigger star. She's still better in the ring. She's got more fan support. And now she's going to face Liv Morgan or Charlotte Flair. I believe it will probably be Charlotte Flair. All right. We then have the next segment here, which, again, some backstage stuff with Roxanne, who guaranteed Liv that Charlotte would not be 100% for their match on Friday. And that's when Liv entered Danhausen's lab and wanted him to curse Oba Femi before his match with Dom. And he said he could if she put her in his music video or her music video and gave her human money, a lot of human money, which is, again, it's fine. I continue to say this every week. I feel like a broken record with Danhausen. After the disastrous debut, which was nothing short of just totally embarrassing and disastrous, he's rebounded. Obviously, the metrics of him selling merch is where TKO could only dream that he would be, without even having more than 8-9 matches. He's never in the ring, yet he's selling the most merch. It's incredible. Good for him. But he does fit comedy well. He's one of those rare characters that by design, which is even harder when you try to design comedy in a wrestling environment, that he pulls it off, and he pulls it off well. He is very much a Santino Marella type of humor. He's endearing. He's all in, which is the most important thing you can be as a comedic character in a show that's not supposed to be a comedy show. You have to be all in, because you'd rather be all in and fail than half-ass and embarrass yourself. So I really don't hate Danhausen stuff. I know a lot of you think I would, and I thought I would, but it's because of his commitment to the role that it overshadows any ridiculousness that he has. I understand the lab backstage. I understand he's drawing power. He's causing blackouts in the arena. He's using a 1995 IBM Aptiva computer, or a Compaq. Those of you who are millennials probably can relate to those computers. Everybody who's born in 2000 and forward probably look at those as like, oh yeah, didn't my parents use those as kids? Yeah, that's us. So I actually don't hate this character, and there's a need for that kind of character in the show. Small role, but it's a nice kind of palate cleanser for the show. So he ends up telling Liv again that he wants human money, and human money, and human money, and then human money again, which is funny. It just is. I mean, I'm not sitting there knee slapping, in tears laughing, but it's kind of like it might make my face crack a smile for a second, which is all you can ask. And I really don't hate this. I understand a lot. Even those of you who are emailing me are finding this stupid with the electrocution of The Miz and Kit Wilson. Whatever. If it starts to turn crappy, I'll be the first one to say it, where it gets embarrassing. But so far, it's just silliness. All right. Let's continue. Seth Rollins was featured in a promo video asking for a steel cage match with Braun Breaker at Night of Champions, which did become official. And I will say, well, thank God for that. Seth chose the right stipulation, or proposed the right stipulation, because, as we know, steel cage matches are infamous for preventing outside interference. So that's a sure thing. Lock it up, throw away the key type of matchup that'll stop anyone from coming in. The sarcasm is at an all-time high right now, of course. All right. So, yeah, that match will be fine. And Braun Breaker had a heck of a night, and we'll get to that in a minute, too. All right. Backstage, Jackie Redmond interviews Chad Gable, who got a good pop. He spoke about starting the process of making amends, and he was going to continue to do that after this match, and he left the interview area and encountered Maxine speaking with Austin Theory. He walked away and then he came out to his new music, which I enjoyed. It'll grow on me, and I think it'll grow on the rest of the crowd as well. It was needed. It's not all the time that you need to have somebody get new entrance music, but when it does happen, it tells you that the company's invested in you. So that's a good sign for Chad Gable fans. All right. So yes, Chad Gable continues his apology tour. I don't think that's necessary. I've laid out my argument for why. I think it's you don't need to do that, but they're doing it, and whatever. Okay, Chad Gable and Rusev was the next matchup. The match went 10 and a half minutes, and Chad Gable, yes, did and should have beat Rusev as he hit the angle slam and got the ankle lock. So submission victory for Chad Gable as Rusev taps out. A good matchup. Rusev, a grizzled vet, and is incredibly athletic for the size he is. Chad Gable, we all know what he's capable of. He's an absolute just monster of a dude for his size, for what he's able to do as well. The strength he possesses, everything else. I mean, to say he's athletic is an insult to athletes. I mean, he's just incredible. And it does make you still wonder, and I was thinking about this during the match. Remember when Kurt Angle was the GM of Raw? And people thought that in the story, it was going to be Chad Gable that was the son, the bastard son of Kurt Angle. And it didn't end up being him. How? He looks like a mini Kurt Angle. He wrestles like Kurt Angle. He's got an amateur wrestler's body. He's now using the angle slam and the ankle lock. It made no sense. Oh, gosh. Again, that was what, 9 years ago. So, Paige then attacked Gable afterwards, and Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee came out to save him to return the favor. So, Ethan Page, I think, is getting some nice heat here. I continue to say he's a sleeper heel over the next 6 to 12 months. I wouldn't sleep, pun intended, on an Ethan Page. I think he's got a bigger future in 2026 and into 2027 than most people are talking about. Okay, Reigns was giving orders to his assistant when the Usos showed up, and Jimmy said he thought Jacob Fatu was supposed to listen to him. And Jay, when Reigns isn't around, and Reigns said he called an audible. He said they couldn't have infighting, and Reigns asked why LA Knight was still running his mouth, and Reigns said maybe he should have Fatu handle it, and Jay got mad and started to say he'd take care of it, but Jimmy cut him off, blah, 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 blah. Don't care. This segment was more of the same that I don't want to see from the Bloodline. Like, if you're going to resurrect them for the 14th time, we don't need to be teased or even spoken to about tension in the Bloodline. There is absolutely, unequivocally, nothing interesting they can do about anybody infighting with anyone within the Bloodline. Any Samoan at all currently on the roster, excluding The Rock, there is not a single combination that even remotely interests anyone, which is partially why people are so pissed off that Jey Uso advanced in the King of the Ring, because there's nothing for him to do that would be remotely interesting. There is no tension you can create with any combination of any one of even Solo's faction or Roman's faction or anyone in NXT or anyone that wants to come down from NXT that's another Samoan. There's nothing you can do. There's no combination that has not been explored. And even if there is, it doesn't interest anyone. So I think I've made it somewhat clear. I've been a bit foggy on how I feel about it. I know I should probably just come out and say it. Maybe everyone listening feels differently. Maybe some of you don't. That's my take on it. The Bloodline story died at WrestleMania 40. And we've been watching a corpse of it ever since. It's like the ghost of the Bloodline who continues to haunt us. That's not to say Jimmy and Jay aren't an all-time great tag team, or that Roman Reigns is going to be going into the Hall of Fame, or that Jacob Fatu isn't going to be a big star, or that Solo could have his, a resurrection moment where he ends up finding himself again. That's not to say any of that. It's just that when they're together in this version of themselves, it is, I can't believe we're still doing this. I don't even know if DX lasted this long. Did they? I mean, perhaps. I'm thinking. So they started really in 97. Triple H broke out in 99 as the game. They did a little bit of DX into 2000, 2001. So that's 4 years. I don't think they survived till 03, up until the point where they brought DX back in 06. Yes, it was 06. I remember when Shawn Michaels and Triple H actually reunited, not the fake reuniting that led to like a 2-year story. That is still one of the best series of matches you'll ever see. From the Royal Rumble Last Man Standing to the 3 stages of hell at First Blood or Bad Blood in 03. The series of matches that those two had, it needs to be... I don't think people remember how great they were. But I'm talking about really kind of bringing it back in 06. That didn't last forever. So I can't remember a group that lasted this long. It's unbelievable. In some form or fashion. I know that the original Bloodline went away, but then they kind of came back, then they went away. But there's always been something of the Bloodline still going on, whether it's Solo's group, the Bloodline 2.0 that kind of morphed into the MFTs, or Roman's group that, the OG and then the dissension and back, and then they left and Roman, that story, there may not be a longer story in the history of WWE. To say it's run its course, is the understatement of the year, but they're just going back to their safety net. They don't know where else to go. Maybe if they just pumped a little bit of information into ChatGPT, it could help them create some stories. Oh, wait, they're already doing that. All right. So Braun Breaker has a promo video, and he said Seth uses deception to prey on people around him for the glory of one man rather than many. Yeah. If there is a ChatGPT line to ask what's a good line for a wrestling promo, just give me one line. Tell me that's not AI generated or from the mind of a writer that has no idea what pro wrestling is and just likes to put fancy words together to have it make it try to mean something that actually has no meaning. It's a whole lot of words, but very little meaning. It's such an empty platitude. Breaker then spoke about facing Rollins in a cage, so we get a little more relevant here. He said, when you're locked in a cage with a dog, the dog always makes it out. Well, does he? I did not enjoy this promo from Breaker. And he's had some decent promos, particularly against CM Punk before their match for the world title earlier this year. But this was bad. This was a AI generated or like horribly written promo by somebody that doesn't understand pro wrestling, but maybe wrote for TV. Bad. Just bad. Bad context. Breaker he did the best he could with what he was given, but he couldn't make chicken salad out of chicken shit on this one. All right. We had LA Knight come out, and he spoke about how he told various people over the weekend he had to get to Baltimore. And he talked about how he declared he was home, and he recalled losing on SmackDown, saying it went down like he said it would with the bloodline interference, only this time it was from Solo. And Jimmy comes out and spoke with Knight about how Jay won the match on Friday, and Knight wondered if he meant that the bloodline wouldn't go after him if he were to attack Solo on Friday. And Jimmy hesitated, but said, yeah, that's what he was saying. Jey Uso comes out, and he said Jimmy was right in that Solo acted on his own. And he ended up acknowledging Jay by saying, I acknowledge you. that you can kiss my ass. And it ended with a bit of a scuffle and Jimmy and ending up having to kick LA Knight and Knight getting a chair and laying out the Usos. But then here comes Fatu, who puts Knight in the Tongan death grip. Another mess for LA Knight. Where is LA Knight going? LA Knight has been wrapped up in this spider web of the Bloodline story for years. That's not hyperbole. That's just statistically true. Not consistently, but in and out of the Bloodline, where you know he's not going to actually win a championship. He's there to work with Roman or Jay or Jimmy, but that's it. Mostly Jimmy or Jay. He's seemingly been in a wrestling match with them for several years now. We need LA Knight to either have a total reset, or we need him to just have a big moment and see what happens. Make him a champion and see what happens. Not Intercontinental US. Just give him the world title. Let's see what the guy can do. It's not something you want to ignore if you're the WWE. With a guy like LA Knight, I understand he's 41 years old, whatever. He's not, you're going to be your top guy for the next 5 years. But sometimes you can catch lightning in a bottle. And with the crowd behind him for this long, that is a rarity. You need to try to see what you've got. You don't know what you've got until you try it. And if it sucks, you move on. Look what they did with Jey Uso. He beats Gunther at WrestleMania and then was champion for perhaps the shortest amount of time any champion who won at WrestleMania after they won, holding the belt after. He may be the shortest run champion in WrestleMania history. I said that really poorly, but I think you know what I mean. There's a rule where they win at WrestleMania. If you win a championship at WrestleMania, you're almost guaranteed to go to SummerSlam as champion. But my point is, you can always correct course if it's a disaster for LA Knight. But then the fans can at least see, hey, okay, they gave it a try. So we'll see. But LA Knight continues to be wrapped up in this cocoon of forever fighting with Jimmy and Jay. Now Jacob Fatu. And it makes you wonder, who are heels here? Who are the good guys and bad guys? And yes, that still matters. I don't want to hear everything shades of gray. It doesn't have to be. It does not have to be. Sometimes entertainment can really be that simple. And right now with Jacob Fatu, who just continues to attack baby faces. I mean, he had battled Roman Reigns for a couple months. Now he's going after LA Knight, but yet he's in the Bloodline group where they haven't turned heel because Roman's still technically a good guy. Jimmy and Jay are always teetering on the fence. Jacob Fatu is categorized as a babyface, but then attacks other babyfaces. So it's a big goddamn mess. I don't know which way's up. The fans are conflicted on how to feel. You don't want fans conflicted, because what do they do when they're conflicted? They're not as passionate. Because you're sitting there, you don't know how to react because the fans love Roman. Maybe they like the Usos, but then they're attacking Knight. You have sympathy for Knight. You also like him. What do we do? I don't know. So fans aren't going to be as loud. Okay. We have then Charlotte and Roxanne Perez, with Charlotte beating Roxanne in 10 minutes after she hit the figure eight and did her bridge in a nice finish, with Perez attempting the pop rocks and transitioning that into the figure eight was well done. I don't know if they rehearsed that beforehand, but if they didn't, that was really nicely done by both women there. So Charlotte wins. I think they're positioning her for a championship match at SummerSlam, but we will see. All right. We then had Javon Evans make his entrance, and he had an interview with Jackie Redmond, and he spoke briefly about facing Jey Uso in the King of the Ring semifinals, but he was interrupted by Logan Paul. Yes, I was as surprised as everybody else. He had a brace over his arm. It wasn't as if he was faking the injury. He didn't Seth Rollins us. But Logan said that Evans is a generational talent, and he played up the need for Evans to live up to his potential with the right people. And Logan said that they are the right people and invited Evans to join the vision. He offered Evans a handshake, and he said, hell no. And Logan said it wasn't an invitation, it was a mandate. And Logan declared that Evans is in the vision. Evans told to back off or he'd leave Baltimore with no arms. And Theory told Evans that they weren't asking, they were telling him. And Evans said he saw they were there to what they were going for, called for a ref, and they had a match here with Javon taking on Austin Theory with Logan Paul at ringside. The match went 10 minutes and 25 seconds after Evans went for an OG cutter in what was an otherwise good match, but it was cut off by Braun Breaker spearing him midair after he attempted the OG cutter. It was crazily well done. No room for error. Credit to both Javon Evans and Braun Breaker on that spot. It looked great. I mean, no issues here. After the match, though, the Street Profits, they came out and they got the better of Breaker in Theory, and that was it. Again, good match. Surprise return by Logan Paul. And it also showed you, and it set a different precedent here, that just because you're injured doesn't mean you can't show up. Now, you won't and you shouldn't take any bumps, but it does tell you that, you know what? I know I'm on the shelf for 7 months or whatever it's going to be, 5 months, 6 months, 4 months, 3 months, but I can still show up. I can still talk, can't I? That's a great time. It's a great opportunity for talent who are on the shelf to grow their character without actually being involved in matches. You can do that. Yes, in-ring is important. I would argue it pales in comparison to being able to talk. And you want an example of that? If you're like, no, in-ring matters more. Tell that to Paul Heyman, one of the best talkers in the entire history of the business. Has never had a single match, and yet everyone knows his name. People react to him. He could sell tickets by just talking. You don't need to know how to have a 5-star match by today's standards in order to get people to pay attention to you. Wrestling doesn't grab people by the heartstrings. Emotion does, and emotion is elicited through words. Yes, in-ring is important because who you want to win and lose is directed by how you feel about that person. But again, how you feel about that person more often than not is based on their words, which develops character, their direction. Can you relate to them? What's their moral compass? Why are they here? A lot of different factors. So I would argue that there should be more of this. Now, you want them to stay out of harm's way. You don't want any accidents where they could accidentally take a bump and further injure themselves. I'm not saying this is a hard and fast rule that they should implement across the board. Of course not. And leg injuries would, if you to appear live would be much more complicated. What are you going to have, a wheelchair down to the ring? But they can have vignettes. They can cut promos. They can have a pre-taped 1.5-minute segment. I think this is something that should happen more. So it was nice to see Logan Paul, a guy that we didn't think we'd actually see until fall. Okay. Let's move along. Oba Femi, Dominic Mysterio in a King of the Ring semi-final match. This match went 4 minutes and 35 seconds. So pretty long for Oba Femi match. I mean, it just is. And he ends up beating Dominic Mysterio after a fall from grace. And the updated brackets show that Oba Femi is going to face the winner of Javon Evans and Jey Uso. So you would imagine it's going to be Jey Uso versus Oba Femi, but I wouldn't hate it if it's Javon Evans versus Oba Femi. I wouldn't. In fact, that's a better option to me. Why? Because nobody wants Jey Uso. And if you're not trying to turn him heel, keep him the hell out of this. And they're an inch away from the fans unanimously, I think, turning on him. That won't just be the online crowd, the IWC. I think it will translate in person, and it kind of already has. People don't love Jay like they used to. Plus, it gives Javon Evans a hell of an exposure. Now, I don't believe Javon Evans or Jey Uso is going to win the match anyway, no matter who comes out of this victorious. But Oba Femi, I think, should... You know what? I think he should win the thing. And then when he gets his opportunity, he gets screwed by Brock. However, it is also very possible that Brock Lesnar screws Oba Femi in the King of the Ring match, the final. So he's either going to screw him there, or when Oba Femi cashes in his contract for his championship opportunity at SummerSlam, I believe it is. So that could be the case there. But if you're going to have that, then why would you actually wait till SummerSlam when you could have a match with Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam if that's where he wants to end? There's a lot of moving parts here. I would just have him interfere, as all of us expect. Have him screw Oba. Javon Evans gets his shot, or Jey Uso, I wouldn't advise it, gets his shot at a world championship. And then you get to Brock Oba Femi 3. You can do that at Saturday night's main event, or you could wait all the way till SummerSlam, or you could do it at Night of Champions if you really wanted, but I don't think they will. So, he ended up, Oba Femi though, that is, did talk about Brock here. He said he would tie up loose ends by beating Javon Evans, Jey Uso, or even Brock Lesnar. He said he thought this night would be the night that Lesnar would come, and he said he went from looking up to Lesnar as a man to questioning whether he's even a man at all. Well, that doesn't look good for you, Oba. If he's really not a man, well, he beat you. So what does that say about you? However, I get it. Oba did ask what Lesnar's legacy would be, and he said he knows what his own is, and he talked about a bunch of things, including he's a beast slayer, he's a future king of the ring, and said when it's all said and done, he'll be the king, and Lesnar will be the man who ran from him. What? That part of the end of the show here, as the credits went out, made no sense. What do you mean? Lesnar beat you and then just went home. That's what Lesnar did. That's what he does. What version of running are you using? I know they're trying to position Lesnar as this cowardly heel, but he's not running from Oba Femi. He's the one that came back after getting beat at WrestleMania and put a beating on Oba Femi. So that's hardly running. That's called getting retribution and then walking away at your own discretion. That's a bit of a stretch to say. It's not even a stretch. It's just factually incorrect that Brock Lesnar is running away from Oba Femi. So, okay. But the King of the Ring, it's coming. And we're going to get our answers as to who is going to win for both the men and women. But I think the women's side is honestly more interesting because Charlotte Flair is due for a singles run that has been, I think, long overdue, actually. And I say that because I'm actually concerned about the crowd reaction she's getting. The crowd is really, has been really quiet for Charlotte. And I'm not saying her career is in jeopardy, but it's weird hearing almost no reaction for Charlotte when she comes out. And during her matches, the crowd's been really quiet. Now, I'm not talking about the crowds overseas, just the ones in the United States. I think they need to do a little bit of a resurrection project for Charlotte, redefine her, remind people who she is. And I don't mean going back to the tried and true Queen character and digging up all that dirt and all the bad feelings that fans had for her if you want to keep her face. But you can remind fans who she is. And that is the daughter of Ric Flair, a generational talent for the women, one of the pioneers of the women's evolution, one of the best women's athletes the company has ever seen. Some of the best quality matches that have ever been put on had Charlotte Flair involved. She was a third of the first ever women's main event for WrestleMania. Yes, she was force-fed. I still disagree with it. I will not stop disagreeing with it, but the fact remains the same. Even if I don't like it, it's still true that she was a part of the main event of WrestleMania for the women for the first time. Her accolades speak for themselves. And I think the fans need to be reminded of that because they've forgotten. She's been in this tag team with Alexa Bliss for so long that I think it's actually starting to bite her in the ass. It's been good to get the fans to see that side of Charlotte and actually have them respond positively to Charlotte and give Alexa some real time too. And they did have on-air chemistry that was seemingly genuine, but it's time for Charlotte to go back. It's time for Charlotte to go back. I don't know if they can produce her as a babyface or if the fans are going to just be like, oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember why we didn't like you. Only one way to find out. Alrighty. So good. A fun Monday Night Raw. And again, we have some PLEs on the way. If you guys want to go ad free, patreon.com/WWE podcast, of course, is the place. And you can also give us a 5-star rating if you want to support us that way. Anywhere podcasts are available, Apple, Spotify, you can give us a 5-star rating there as well. And I'll be back in a few days with your mailbag. So email us, mailbag@wwepodcast.com. If you're on Patreon, of course, you can send us the messages directly through their system. And if you're interested in the NXT review, being a regular reviewer of NXT, email me, same email, mailbag@wwepodcast.com. We're looking to fill that position really as soon as we can with the right person. So I'll end it there. I appreciate everybody listening, and I'll be back soon. So stay tuned. Enjoy your day. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to wwepodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.